Dr. John struggled for years with a podcast before he finally cracked the YouTube code.
So I had already had a quote unquote podcast that was on YouTube for 2.5 years. And the show just limped along for 2.5 years. And the reason is we had no idea what we were doing.
He joined our YouTube Mastermind program, and one of his very first videos exploded and got 80,000 views. He got his channel monetized in just 3 weeks, and his YouTube success even doubled the sales of his 8-year-old medical product in only 3 months.
A few months ago, we launched the Dr. John Chuback channel, and one of our very first videos had 80,000 views, 6,500 watch hours, 2,500 subscribers, and we got monetized in like 3 weeks. So that single video changed my life.
And in this presentation from our mastermind group, he is going to show you the exact steps he took to achieve this awesome success. Enjoy.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It came as a surprise to be invited to speak at this esteemed event. So we're calling it Early YouTube Success, working with Evan Carmichael. A brief history of the Dr. John Chuback channel and Dr. John Chuback. We'll pick up the story in 2002 when I graduated not far from here at the University of Rochester as a cardiac surgeon, open heart surgeon. I thought my life was pretty much set. I had worked my whole life. I was 33 years old. I had done 15 years after finishing the 12th grade of training. And it was a long, difficult road. But unfortunately, when I got there, in many ways, it was a grave disappointment because in those years, technology had changed dramatically in the field of cardiovascular disease. And a totally different group of doctors, interventional cardiologists, came out with angioplasty and stenting and all of these minimally invasive ways of treating cardiac disease. So I came to a massive crossroads in my life. And I was practicing cardiac surgery very successfully in northern New Jersey. And this is a history of single events. A single postcard changed my life. We all get mail every day, and my secretary put my mail on my desk, and there was a little postcard there, 6x9-inch postcard, said, come to New York City and learn about adding additional income to your surgical practice with Dr. Ron Bush, who was a heart surgeon in Dayton, Ohio. And he was doing minimally invasive treatment of varicose veins using a laser in the office. And it was a 1-hour lecture in Manhattan, which was 20 minutes from my office. And I said, let me go and do that. And that postcard, that one postcard, changed my life. And in 2006, a varicose vein specialist was born. And then I was practicing varicose veins very successfully. The practice took off. It got super busy. It was a brand new technology. And I was practicing for a number of years. And in 2016, I was at a conference in West Palm Beach, and one of my colleagues from Naples, Florida, John Landy, said, hey, do you know what diosmin is? Have you ever heard of diosmin? And I said, no, I've never heard of it. He says, oh, these guys are here, from some company. And I went to talk to them about diosmin, which is a flavonoid that comes from citrus fruit. And I was blown away by the science behind this stuff for circulation, circulatory health, and varicose veins and so forth. And I said to myself, like right there, standing at the table, I said, oh, I see what these guys are doing. I can do this. Like I could create a supplement company based on this ingredient and do it differently than this company's doing. I'll sell it directly to the doctors to sell to their patients in the office. And Vita Support MD was born. We've been doing that very successfully for the last almost 10 years. We started in 2016. And a few months ago, thanks apparently to Nick, I got a single social media post in my feed about Evan Carmichael, who I knew very well because when I hit that crossroads as a cardiac surgeon, I started to get heavily into personal development. And I read the book, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, who was also a physician. And it gave me the courage to change directions. And in that personal development journey, I see Evan all the time and follow his stuff. I read, Your One Word and all of that. And so when I got this post saying there was this opportunity, I told Maria, who's with me 21 years, let's do this thing. We went to our partners at Vita Support MD, who are very close friends of mine, and they said, do it, go for it. We'll make the investment. We believe in you doing it. And so here we are. And then we started with Mary helping us as our coach, as I call her, on our team. And a few months ago, we launched the Dr. John Chuback channel, and one of our very first videos had 80,000 views, 6,500 watch hours, 2,500 subscribers, and we got monetized in like 3 weeks. And so that's why I'm here. So that single video changed my life again, because up until that, I was like, I'm not sure if this is really going to work. I have no idea. It's because of the Lymphcast podcast. So I had already had a quote unquote podcast that was on YouTube for 2.5 years. And it was a great program. We had great hosts, myself and Dr. Eicher and Dr. Glavitsky, who are world-renowned experts in venous and lymphatic medicine. And the show just limped along for 2.5 years. And the reason is we had no idea what we were doing. We were calling it a podcast. We were putting it on all the podcast sites. We were trying to monetize it as a podcast through industry sponsorship, getting stocking companies and things like that to support us. We had no idea the power of YouTube. And we had one major problem. Dr. Alfieris was a pediatric heart surgeon at Rochester, University of Rochester, again, not far from here. He was like a brother to me. He was my professor. And the first day that I rotated on pediatric heart surgery, I was 32 years old. I wasn't a kid. I had finished 5 years of general surgical residency. I was board certified in general surgery. I had done a year of adult cardiac surgery and thoracic surgery for lung cancers, esophageal cancers, et cetera. And I thought I was a pretty big deal. I thought I was a pretty accomplished surgeon. And the first day I walked into Dr. Alfieris' operating room, getting ready to operate on a baby's heart, he came over to me and he says, the first thing I want you to understand is that you don't know what you don't know. So if you think that you're ready to do this, you're not. And he said, I don't want you to talk. I don't want you to speak. I just want you to do what you're told, and I'll let you know when you're ready to participate in any meaningful way. And he was right, because the stakes were very high. So sometimes you need a teacher. And this is me and Dr. Harris when I was finishing, and that's me operating on an infant's heart there. You can see the little tubes coming in and out of his heart, and that's my dear friend and mentor, Dr. Alfieris, on the right. And when it comes to this stuff, Evan is the YouTube teacher. And this is me taking a master class with him. First time I was up here for the mastermind ceremony. And we have Mindset Mary Alouch, who's our person. She's our person, we say. And she was a perfect fit for our team. And these are all of her incredible personal attributes that make her so valuable. And that's why I shouldn't do my own slides, because that E should be at the end. That's why we have good people around me. This brings me to one of my other virtual mentors' teachings, another Canadian from Toronto who's no longer with us, unfortunately, Bob Proctor, who used to teach in his courses, just do exactly what I tell you to do. And that's what Dr. Alfieris was teaching, and that's what Evan and his group are teaching. Become an excellent student. I'm in no position, with all of my accomplishments in life, I'm in no position to bring ideas to this forum. I'm here as a student. And one of my other professors, Dr. Vozos, used to say, no, there's no independent thinking in the beginning. You have to have a level of expertise before you can start adding something to the conversation. This is a picture from one of the walls in my office with all of my degrees and diplomas, just to say, I'm a great student. I know how to be a great student, and I think that partially explains the early success that we've had with our channel. And this brings us to one of the classic quotes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So for those of you who are brand new to this, I implore you to be a great student and let the teachers be the teachers, and we take the role of students. And then this is going back to the Lymphcast case study, which was a failure on YouTube. It had strengths, great hosts, guests, subject matter. We had a lot of knowledge. We were sharing really great information. And we were on YouTube. We were posting them on YouTube. And we had a large potential audience. There are 40 to 50 million Americans alone with venous and lymphatic disorders. So it had every reason it should succeed, but it didn't. It failed because we had these weaknesses. We didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't even know that YouTube could be monetized. I'm 6 months ago. I didn't know that. I just didn't know. So we didn't understand anything about thumbnails, titles, hooks, the importance of the first 3 seconds, the importance of the first 30 seconds, how frequently you should be making videos, long form versus short form. We literally didn't understand anything. So you say, well, why is the Dr. John Chuback channel winning now? Well, this is that one that really put us over the top. It was very early on, a video I did about lymphedema. Again, probably not even the greatest thumbnail because most people don't know what lymphedema is, so we probably should have used leg swelling or something. But nevertheless, it hit, and this was posted 3 months ago, and it's gotten 80,000 views. Now, that was when we had 0 subscribers. So I believe, and my team believes, and we follow the instructions of the program. This brings me to this very intense photo of a very great man, Chuck Feeney. He became a multi-billionaire with duty-free shops. But when he came out of the Navy as a young guy on the GI Bill, he was accepted to Cornell University, and he was broke. He didn't have any money whatsoever. He went to the first football game, and at that football game, he saw there was a student, a young guy, selling sandwiches, and the people were lined up to buy these sandwiches. And he said to himself, and there's these single things that somehow affect my psyche very deeply when I watch the documentary about him. He said to himself, looking at that kid, that isn't difficult. I could do that. And he said the next week at the game, it was him and me, both selling sandwiches, making a lot of money. And he said the fascinating part was 4 years later when I graduated, it was still just the two of us. Nobody else caught on. They just wanted to watch the game and have a good time and buy a sandwich and not sell one. So that mantra has kind of been important to me in my life. That isn't difficult. I can do that. And so in working with Mary, Mary said to me, have you ever heard of Dr. Eric Berg, B-E-R-G? And I hadn't heard of Dr. Berg, which is quite remarkable. And he has 13.8 million subscribers. And with all due respect to him, he's a doctor of chiropractic medicine. He's not a medical doctor and so forth. And later I'm working with this other group from Toronto who does our post, and they claim, I don't know how it is, but it inspired me anyway, that the guy's making millions of dollars a month from YouTube advertising. I said to myself, well, I looked at his videos. He's doing these talking head, thought leadership videos. I didn't know they were called that. Now I do. But I said, I could do that. And my father used to tell me, he was an OBGYN, and when I went to medical school and surgical residency, he said, the most important thing you could do, John, is steal with your eyes, because your professors can't explain everything to you. It's impossible when you're working and operating in situations. So just keep watching and steal with your eyes. And monkey see, monkey do, he used to say. And so I knew that I could do that. And I said to myself, that isn't difficult. I could do that. Earl Nightingale, another one of my virtual mentors who's gone a long time, in 1957 said, we live in a golden age. This is an era that humankind has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. And that's true. I think most people are totally anesthetized. They're asleep. They don't realize these great opportunities that exist right now. Another one of my mentors that I follow currently, Myron Golden, who's a very successful YouTuber, he pointed this out. This thing stuck with me. He said, you don't need anyone's permission anymore. And that's that golden age we live in, and I'm going to explain that a little more. So each of us has the potential to own our own multimedia company. I call it now the Myron Golden Age. Combining those two concepts, you have the opportunity to have your own TV station, radio station, and print media company. So you can be on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. You can have your own podcasts, make your own audio books. And when it comes to books, that's why I thought it was so the universe talking that Nina was here, and Nina was so candid and very transparent yesterday. She was like, yeah, you have to have a literary agent. You have to go through a publishing company. She's like, no, there's many ways of doing it. And that's what I realized. And today, with Amazon Print on Demand, anybody here can be putting out a book. It doesn't have to be a big money maker. It can be used in all different ways in our business. but at least you now have the opportunity. Even when I wrote my first book, we had to have them printed. I had to buy whatever it was, 500 of them, have them mailed to the office. It's very, very different now. And you can have a blog, an online magazine, an e-newsletter, which we were talking about how valuable that is with Nick and Evan earlier, and your website. So this is an amazing period of time that we live in. And these are some of the projects that I'm working on and have worked on. And these are some of the books I've written. Some were through a professional publisher. Others are self-published. But I just kept doing the thing and, believing in myself, and finding the Evan Carmichael program has just been a real shot in the arm for us. But I don't ask anybody's permission anymore. I don't need somebody to say, you're good enough to be on network television like Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil or whomever. It's an age, golden age, where Dr. Berg doesn't need their permission, and neither do I, and neither do you, neither do any of us. TV, radio, and print, those are the classical all general media outlets, and you would need somebody's permission to be on TV, to be on radio, or to publish a book. Today, those rules are all out the window. That's a remarkable thing. So I think these would be the keywords for our early YouTube success. These are words that apply to all kinds of success, but patience, commitment, the compound effect of keeping going, consistency, having a schedule, approaching it like a professional, having faith in yourself and the program, having belief in yourself and the program, building great teams. You need teams of people. That's come out in this conference several times. You cannot do this on your own. And if you do, it's going to be very poorly done. But that's a place to start. And it requires courage. It requires an investment, financial, time, resources. And you need to be a long-term thinker on this. I had some early success. I have 5,500 subscribers or something. I'm not certainly Evan Carmichael or Dr. Berg, but we had some early success, but I know that it's going to take years to get to where we're going. And I'm used to that in my kind of training, right? At 18, I knew that I wouldn't finish school until I was 33. So I'm accustomed to that, but that might be an adjustment for other people. And then you need mentorship, which I did with Dr. Alfieris and all the rest, and with Evan now and Mary. And you have to be willing to study, and you really have to be willing to focus. Focus is a huge word, especially for a surgeon. And then I think this is an important thing. Pursue successful people. You have to be a little bit of a stalker, I think. These guys that I've mentioned in the meeting, Talking with Docs, you see now they have over 1 million views. I tried to get on their program to do something for 4 years before it actually happened. But I never gave up. I kept going. I kept emailing the guy, calling his office. He ghosted me for a long time. And then one thing led to another, and I met somebody who knew him, and he made one phone call, and the next thing you know, I was on the show. And so we did this hemorrhoid video a couple months ago. It's 221,000 views when I made these slides earlier in the week. I think today it's 239,000 views. It's a remarkable thing if you can piggyback off of somebody else's success. And I help them because those videos are performing better than most of their videos have by having me on the program. And this is a little bit on the financial investments for early success. And obviously everyone who's here as a part of this group is willing to do that because it's an expensive program. At least for me, it's expensive. But it's an investment, it's an investment. But it's beyond that. Then you have to, be willing to get the studio equipment, the cameras, tripods, lighting, all of this other stuff, personnel, somebody who's going to help you film, upload, consultants, post-production people. For this, I'm taking 2 days away from my surgical practice to be here, travel expenses. A lot goes into it. So you have to be very, very serious about it, and you have to be committed, but you're investing ultimately in yourself. This is our little studio that we built, and to us it looks like a big major thing. It was a big investment. We had to learn a lot. We had to study what to buy. We used the program, Evan's program, and went through module 9 or whatever it was, where that guy shows you exactly what to buy, and we tried to follow that. Went to our local camera store, worked with some great young people there. But 6 months ago, we were shooting with the iPhone. So that's a long way to come in a short period of time. And then we go back to Earl Nightingale and his classic program, Strange Secret, or The Strangest Secret. And what is the strangest secret? It's these 6 words: you become what you think about. So if you perseverate over something like I did in becoming a doctor and a cardiac surgeon and so on and so forth, if you will just use the power of autosuggestion, which I talk about in my books and things, it will manifest itself, it will transmute into the physical realm and become a reality. But that record, which I own and is in my office, has a B-side. And the B-side is pay the price. And the key that Earl points out about paying the price is that you have to pay the price up front in full. You don't get to sit in front of the fireplace and say, give me heat and then I'll feed you wood. You have to put the work in first. You have to have the courage to do that, make the investment, carve out the time, knowing that you may not make it. I can assure you, a lot of people that I started with in college and so forth who wanted to go to medical school and become surgeons, the vast majority of them didn't make it. So it's not that all of us are going to make it, or even because I had early success, I'm going to make it in the long run. But you have no other choice if you're going to have a chance but to pay the price in full up front. And this is that single video, again, that really kind of unlocked the door for us and gave us the idea that, hey, maybe I can really do this. And that encouraged us. And these are those first 3 videos I did with Talking with Docs. And we shot with those guys again on Wednesday when we came up here, because we all had a great time. It was a good investment for them, for me. And we've definitely seen an immediate ROI on these videos, not through YouTube, but through my Vita Support MD website, where our hemorrhoid product is now doing twice the sales it was before with twice the subscribers. And that's a product that's been on the market probably 8 years. And in 3 months, we doubled sales because of one video. Shows you the power of this. This is another outlier for me, a short that they made on sepsis. And it was 169,000 views on Tuesday. I think now it's 191,000 views. And that's driven hundreds and hundreds of subscribers, just that one video. So it tells you, and I can give you 10 other videos that have, a couple hundred views. But you just keep going. You just keep making them, because you never know which one is going to resonate with the algorithm, with the people, etc. Here's another TikTok one that's an outlier for us, 120,000 views on how to avoid a heart attack. So you just never know. You just keep making them. This is the in conclusion about achieving early YouTube success. These are the key words. Work with Evan and his team, be committed, be consistent, be a good student, do exactly as you're told, invest the money, invest the time, be patient, and believe.
To watch another amazing YouTube success story, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.